In a startling repeat of last year's chaos over the participation of Salman Rushdie, there's trouble at the Jaipur Lit Fest again this year. Islamist groups have asked the organizers to ban authors who read out passages from Rushdie's banned book, The Satanic Verses, last year. A panel of Islamic clerics and scholars want Jeet Thail, Amitav Kumar, Ruchir Joshi and Hari Kunzru to not attend the fest this year. Thail is the only one of these four taking part in the fest this time, we are told. Rajasthan police sources also telling CNN-IBN that the BJP and RSS are opposing the participation of Pakistani authors and that security will be provided to all the participants. Ruchir Joshi, one of the authors named by the Islamic clerics, spoke to CNN-IBN, and I quote him now. Not going to Jaipur this time, but if I had been, I would have proceeded regardless. Clearly, this is a fringe group looking to get publicity. That's what one of the authors said. Let's go to our correspondent. Swati Vashish joining us live from Jaipur, and Amrita Tripathi is with us from the newsroom. Swati, first to you, what kind of threats have been received by the organizers?
Well, Palki, it seems that the ghost of the controversy around Salman Rushdie's visit to the Jaipur Literature Festival is back to haunting the Jaipur Literature Festival 2 days before it begins. Muslim groups here in Jaipur, at a gathering yesterday at Ravindra Manch, have warned the Jaipur Literature Festival organizers against allowing these four authors who read out of the controversial book by Salman Rushdie, Satanic Verses, last year to express support to the author. The Jaipur Literature Festival organizers have been warned against having them at the Jaipur Literature Festival. But the police are telling us that the security at the Jaipur Lit Fest will be tight and everything is under control, and they will not allow anyone to create any trouble at the venue.
Amrita, have you heard from any other authors apart from Ruchir Joshi? What are they saying? What are the organizers saying? Do they see this as a publicity stunt?
That is generally the sense you get, Palki. We're waiting for an official statement from the organizers. I believe the invitation still stands, as is Jeet Thail, in fact, the only writer from those four who was scheduled to go, and he does not want to comment. He says he does not want to give this, to react to this, but he's going to go ahead as planned, and that was a very adamant decision he's taken. We do know that Hari Kunzru is in the US, Amitav Kumar is in the US, Ruchir Joshi is in Kolkata, and you read out that statement that he'd made earlier. It's very interesting because the organizers, of course, are going to have to come out with I suppose a public statement, find themselves in a bit of a rough spot again, even if this is a fringe group looking for publicity with the backing of clerics, with a threat of protests. When you have tens of thousands of people congregating for a literature festival, obviously the situation gets a little more delicately balanced. So the police making the statements they're making, we're waiting for the organizers to say, and also, as you mentioned, when it comes to the Pakistani presence at the festival.
Do stay with us. Joining us now is the convener of the Jaipur Literature Festival, Mr. Sanjay Roy, on the phone line. Mr. Roy, can you tell us more about the threats that have been received and what you propose to do now?
Just to clarify, we per se have received no threat. I've only read about it in the paper and I've heard about it from the news channels. I think this is again an instance where a small group of people are trying to hijack the agenda of a secular India. And I also think that both the media and we need to be responsible and not give so much of space and time to this kind of rabble-rousing behavior, and work through this in a way that's both intelligent and responsible. The festival is an inclusive space that reflects the plurality of India and the world, and we stand by the programming that Namita Gokhale and William Dalrymple have put together, which is considered and which is fantastic and is really an eye to the rest of the world. And we will not be bullied by any fringe group or fringe elements who are trying to make issue or take issue with us on this issue.
Are you worried about security, though?
Not at all. We're not worried about security. We're in close consultations with the government, who provided every possible help and support as they have done before. And I'm sure the festival will go through safely and peacefully.
What about the Pakistani authors? The BJP and RSS reportedly are against their participation.
You know, again, this is a festival which is inclusive and allows for sentiments from across the world to be expressed. These are authors and poets. They do not necessarily represent A state or B idea or C ideology. And I think in India, we're big enough to allow this kind of plurality of thought and not get hijacked into this warmongering kind of attitude that we tend to. You know, our voices have become so shrill in recent times. It's time we sat back, reflected, looked beyond the obvious and looked at ways to make it much more inclusive.
Are you worried though that this festival, which was meant to be a meeting ground for these authors from across the world, is now fast turning into a place where people express their agendas and these groups come out every year and create this kind of chaos?
You know, for groups to use platforms like this to represent their point of view, of course, they have every right to. We have no objection to that. As long as all of this is done in a democratic, peaceful way, these are platforms for inclusive thought and ideas. Theirs is a thought, but let them represent it in a way that is responsible and within the democratic traditions of our country and within the things of our constitution.
So you're saying, as far as you're concerned, the program will go on as scheduled, the invitations stand as they were sent out?
There is no change in any of our program. Our program kicks off, and it's a fantastic program this year. It's an amazing program filled with, many award-winning authors from across the world. And we hope that, given that one of the key themes of the festival is about Buddhism and peace, that this year the festival and all of those who participate in it will reflect that vision.
I'm sure you've kept track of how things have developed over the past few weeks. The Pakistani hockey players had to go back. The women's cricket team's venue is going to be changed from Mumbai to Cuttack. So there are tensions, there are issues on the ground, and Pakistani authors are now going to be coming to attend this festival. Are you worried that somewhere things might not go right, or these issues will have a bearing on your festival?
You know, our worries are primarily that as long as the media stays supportive and inclusive, and the media is very conscious of its role in festivals like this, I think everything will pass off peacefully. If there has to be a controversy, then, controversies, of course, can be generated every second in India. I don't think we should go down that route. This is a route of literature, of writing, of thought, of philosophy. And I think these are platforms that need to be engendered and protected and given a space.
And you're saying you've heard of these threats only through the media. You've not heard from the clerics or these political parties. And has anyone from the police department approached you?
Not at all. We're in constant discussion with the police because of the traffic and all the other issues involved. But we have received no specific information about this threat apart from, in fact, I have been meeting with some of the other groups who've come to see me on other issues in Delhi, and there's never been any issue like this brought up by them.
Can you tell us about the Pakistani authors who are attending?
What specifically?
Their names?
You can check on the website. The information is available to everybody.
And of the 4 authors named by the Islamic group, only Jeet Thayil would be attending this time.
That again is available on the website. I wish these organizations who were rabble-rousing at least did their homework and didn't mix up Ruchir Sharma or didn't mix Ruchir Sharma for Ruchir Joshi, who of course is also welcome to come to the festival.
Mr. Roy, thank you very much for your time and for sharing those details with us. So there you have it, Swati and Amrita. That's from the organizer. Swati Vashisht, he was telling us that it's only through the media and the police. The police hasn't really told them about this though, but the program is going to go on as scheduled. So it's only the police who have picked up this information, it seems. What sort of action are they planning apart from promising security for all?
Well, there are going to be tight security arrangements around the venue at the Jaipur Literature Festival. Last year as well, we saw protests when Salman Rushdie's visit was scheduled. Of course, he did not turn up, but there were protests outside. But the situation remained under control largely, except that the threat was there, and people perhaps felt a little insecure throughout. This time, they are saying that they will ensure that there's no such thing and that people feel safe, and any such warnings or protests will be dealt with strictly.